All right, we are live. Hi, everybody. So I'm Jess from Honest Fiction, and I figured we'll introduce our channels, and my husband can introduce himself.
Hi, I'm Scott.
Go. Hi, I'm Misa.
And Scott, so before we begin, what do you primarily read?
I guess high fantasy, like Sanderson, Robert Jordan. That's mostly what I've read this year.
Okay. So I have not read a lot of Sanderson. Isa, I know that you have.
Yeah. I mean, our friendship might end here if you don't eventually read Sanderson. But yes. From my side, I mainly read also epic or high fantasy, usually.
Okay. And I primarily read romance and fantasy romance. So to start off, Scott, what was your experience reading A Court of Thorns and Roses, and how did you come about reading the series?
Well, I mean, I knew it was one of your favorite series.
Yeah.
So we had been talking about you reading Stormlight Archive and me reading ACOTAR. And then, the exchange just never happened on your end. But I ended up reading the three in the ACOTAR series so far.
Yes. All right. So,
out.
Hold on 1 second.
And how was your feeling about reading ACOTAR? Like, did you know a lot, or it was like you came not knowing a lot of stuff?
I had an idea. Like, I knew about Rhysand, like I knew, the Bad Boys. I heard enough, when she was filming videos, but I didn't know much. Like, I confused the plot line a lot with Flesh and Blood, I think, or
From Blood and Ash.
From Blood and Ash. So I was like, oh, the one with Hawk and Poppy, and they're like, she's like, no. So I coming into it though, I thought there was going to be a lot more romance than there was. So I was pleasantly surprised, and I actually really enjoyed the overall plot. Like, it was good.
Getting called out for not reading the book Scott wanted her to read. That's very true. And it happened so much earlier than I was expecting it to, but that's fine.
It is fair.
It is fair. I will read them in the spring.
What are you, like a fae? Like, I will read them sometime in eternity. Like,
eventually. I didn't lie. I didn't give you a time frame on when I would read them. I just said I would read them.
She's preparing. You can read from now till next autumn. Not these years, but next year. So you can read the whole, like book 5 will come autumn next year. So you can read the whole saga and then.
I think that's good. I'll definitely read it before the next book comes out. And I'm saying it on a live in front of people. So there you go.
Cool.
All right. So before we get into like questions and everything, I just want to say that this is going to contain spoilers for books 1 through 3. So if you have not read the whole series and don't want to be spoiled, watch this video later. So, first up is, how did you feel about the series overall?
I very much enjoyed it. If I just stumbled upon it and read it, I would have been very happy. It sounds like I don't see eye to eye with everybody on characters and what I enjoyed and what I didn't enjoy. But as a fantasy romance book, I would probably use this as a gold standard, I'm assuming, to measure other books up against it in that genre. So I liked it. I really liked Rhys. I really liked Cassian. Obviously Nesta. And
and what were your thoughts on Farah?
I've got thoughts.
Do you? Let's see.
What are these? I really disliked her. Actually, every character is better. Okay, yeah. I must have been in a mood that day.
Yes. Just for those who want to know, it says, I really dislike Farah. I actually like every character better. I don't want to see her get a happy ending. Her. Nesta. Yes, I like Amryn a lot too. Amryn is a vampire, and then he goes to try to guess what Amryn is.
It stopped working.
What did you have against Farah?
I am used to reading multiple character POV books. So I felt trapped at certain segments where I felt like she was being unreasonably like just there were moments where I felt she had double standards, and you're allowed to be depressed, and you're allowed to feel all these emotions. I just felt like there were times where she gave certain people fair chances to help her, and then there were times where she just like a perfect example would be when she was at the night court and almost judged the inner circle, like, you don't know what I went through, when in reality it was a very selfish statement, I thought, and just she only cared about herself. And I was stuck reading that for half a book in one of the books, I think the second book. So that was why I disliked her, and it was hard to get over that.
Okay.
Especially when I feel like she gave Reese, who had an unfair advantage as well, which we'll talk about later, but like she gave him tons of opportunities, like, oh, don't worry, you had a bad day. When if it was Tamlin, she'd be like, what a monster. Like, so I just felt there was a double standard. And I think part of that's because what she would never say to Tamlin, Reese had access to in a different way, which I didn't find fair.
Yeah.
Farah.
And did you end up connecting with the character later on or not?
So, to be fair, I've had some weeks to consider this. And Farah's a good character. And I think my biggest disappointment was I always had to start the book disliking her in 2 of the 3 books to finally have her come around to be, a badass or I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but just to, like, I'd be by the end of the book, I'm like, second book, I'm like, oh, that's awesome. But where did that come from?
Monica is thoroughly agreeing with you.
Yes, thank you.
Right as well. Didn't like Nesta. Interesting.
Yes. I agree with her. Nesta I like much better than Farah.
But I can agree with that. But in book 3, right, like Nesta becomes an amazing character. But in book 1, when you're starting, like to me, it feels also that Farah is super young, right? And you are comparing it to Tamlin and Reese, who are way older and have way more knowledge, and hopefully they've been trained. And I don't know, I just feel that Farah gets to learn a lot of stuff, and that Nesta in book 1, it's like top level selfish. Well, there's a lane there, but she's super selfish. And Farah is like, I don't even know how to think. I just need to do this and stuff. Need to save my family, kind of vibe.
Well, I will say Reese and Tamlin are older in years, but I think maybe not so mature in emotional.
I agree.
Well, I definitely think Tamlin is not mature emotionally.
She's like a little boy. I agree.
Yes.
It's like, that's my toy,
So that's gonna go into who is your favorite romantic interest for Farah throughout the series?
The stable boy. No.
Can you imagine?
Yeah. The barn booty call. No, I think my favorite love interest is Reese, because that was written to be right. And they do have great chemistry. And I mean, he's a great character. So, I mean, I think I said multiple times, to you, Jess, that he's just an awesome, like, pirate leader, kind of like, he reminds me, like, if he was like Captain Hook, that'd be awesome. Like, like he leads this band of misfits who are all cool in their own way. So, I mean, it's hard not to like him. And so obviously whoever his, equal or counterpart, which is really how it's written to be, is Farah, who, does this whole 180 and finally like connects with herself. I mean, that felt right.
Okay. So
But there were moments early on that Tamlin was my choice.
okay, so that's going to bring, do you think Farrah made the right decision of staying with Tamlin in the first book? Because I'm going to use the example of Under the Mountain. When Farrah had, or Tamlin had the opportunity to try to save Farrah and get her out. And instead of using that opportunity to his advantage, he makes out with her. So what are your thoughts on that?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Tamlin felt like Farrah felt in the second book, in that first part. Like there was no escape. And if he did, she'll just track down her family, slaughter them. And like, so like, I felt like he couldn't make a move. Like he would love to help her escape, but he was looking at how do I keep her alive, which is why I think he has such a traumatic experience when he watches her neck snap. I think he was so resigned and beat down and just sad that he's like, one more chance to hold her because it's probably not going to end well. And so I think that's why he made that move, because in his mind, escaping was not a reality. Like it just wasn't going to happen.
But isn't that like that Tamlin had zero resilience? Like he's been there for 2 days. Meanwhile, Rhys has been like there for 50 years and he still has this hope going around. He's just like, okay, yes, everything's going down and it cannot save you in just, 5 days.
But I also feel like even though he wasn't there, he was on his own like plight to disaster that was going to basically doom him to be stuck with Amarantha. But thinking with another part of his body than his brain. But
Agreed.
I think that he he watched his friends die and just offer themselves up. Let me go try to help beat this curse, which was, again, him just feeling helpless in this whole situation of no matter what I do, I'm never going to save all these people I care about. And to him, that is more important than anything in his life. Is like, this is my duty, which Favor should understand because that's how she treated her family. I don't like the role, but I must protect them because that's the vow I made. So I feel like if you promise one thing and that's the only thing you fail at doing, it's also very painful.
Yeah.
But it's a different type, I think, than the people trapped under there or what Rhys was going through, which you find out in the later books.
Yeah.
So, obviously with the full series context around Tamlin, you're like, hey, this is baby prom compared to what's maybe going on, but at the time I was like, like maybe a slightly different perspective.
I think it's fair. And actually, now that I rethink it, he is very already resigned. Like when Fair is there, he's not like even making a move, right? He's like, no, let her go, whatever. Like we're already lost.
The point that Farrah thinks he's cursed and can't talk to her. Like Farrah literally says to Lucian, oh, like what's going on with Tamlin? Like why isn't he talking? And you find out that he's really just resigned to this fate and just isn't trying to talk to her, which I think says a lot about his personality.
Yes, that's fair. And Rhys would never have given up, but he would have given her. So like what I would say is, if I, go back to what you were saying about when he had one moment with her, I would have maybe tried to explain myself to her to be like, this is what we have to do to get out of this and stay together. So I do agree, like maybe he could have handled that situation better.
Yeah.
I agree with this. We had limited information in ACOTAR, which is what helps make Tamlin sympathetic. Agreed.
Yeah.
So actually, if we're going to rate them by book, what would you rate the first book, Scott?
The first book I would rate, I'll give it like a 7.5.
Out of 5. Let's do this out of 5 stars. What would you give it?
3.8. Wait, can I do fractions or
I'll give you 0.5s. That's his
0.5? I would
Much
give
better
the
one.
first book a 3.5 out of 5. It felt too much like a Beauty and the Beast retelling
Yeah.
in the very beginning of it. I liked where it went. So I would give it 3.5. If I could, 3.75 would be my real rating.
I think that's probably where I would rate it.
Yeah.
3.5, 3.75.
Agreed. Yeah. It's
Do you have
actually
any specific scenes from that first book that you liked?
Lucian, I liked Lucian in every way.
Okay.
Like, I thought he was there for her under the mountain. He, in the beginning was like, why are we keeping this girl alive? And I mean, the surreal scene is hilarious, where he's like, oh, like, just do this and you'll get her. But, putting her at risk and kind of like becoming good friends. So I thought that set up his character. Like, they did almost more development on Lucian than they did on Tamlin and her relationship in the first book. So I really liked him. And I thought he was going to have a bigger role to play. And I almost thought like they were setting them up so that he was going to do something Tamlin, he was going to side with Feyre.
Yeah.
I agree.
Me too.
So this is a text from when you first started. She just caught the bad fairy. Is this the same cereal from your mug, or is this from the Penelf book? Penelf book being from Blood and Ash. Why do you like this character? I don't get it. And I can totally understand in the first book not grasping everything about the cereal, because like they end up being a key player throughout the book.
Yeah.
The cereal was awesome.
Gossip Girl. Tamlin Reese, all the same, right? So what was going through your head when you thought to text this?
I felt each were trying to manipulate her in their own way, the way that each had access to. I felt Reese had the mental manipulation and ability. Like, I mean, how easy is it to have someone think it's their idea, and if you're inside their head, and you can see how easy it is to send all your feelings and emotions, right? Because he said in the book, I never went deep into the true you. I left that alone. Well, she's sending everything down all day long, 24/7, because she has no idea how to block it.
Yeah.
And he's like, it sends it down, it sends it down. So I just feel like he was trying to manipulate her for the same outcome that Tamlin was, which was, well, you respect me, you love me, and I happen to own everything here. So like physically, I'm going to use that to make you like me. I'm going to keep you here. I'm going to keep you safe. I'm going to make you feel like you need me. Whereas I feel like Reese had a little bit slicker way. And at the time, there's a lot of things I didn't know, but that's why I text that initially. And I was really pissed about him taking her away from the wedding. She needed to be a big girl and face her relationship problems. And he enabled her to not do it.
100%.
That was actually, I would have liked her and her plight the entire book had she been able to say to Tamlin, this is what I'm feeling. But at no point did she ever say anything.
But also, you have to take in the perspective. She's a 19-year-old girl. So, like, she doesn't know how to communicate effectively, or she's 20 years old. She's, like, younger. And he's a 500-year-old, like, Fae male. I feel like he should have noticed that she was suffering and, like, not communicating and just, like, withering away, essentially. Like, she wasn't painting. She wasn't doing anything. And Tamlin is just like, I'm going to buy you paint. I'm going to buy you jewelry. Like, hang out with Ianthe. And isn't actually trying to help her.
Yeah.
But again, sorry to cut you off, but I go back to his way or understanding to make it better is physical things. Is it paint? Here's paint. Is it this? Here's this. So she needed like something emotionally to be kind of fixed, and he was trying to do it with physical things, and that's what he knew. Here's, like I said, he didn't have that layer to help her. And I just think at the wedding, there wasn't all the negativeness, and he hadn't gone full psycho, like controlling boyfriend moment yet. And I just think that he deserved the respect, not an escapist who then gets to go away, and he's left there like, what the heck? The woman that he loved, that he would die for, that, she would die for. And in the previous book, she's like ready to die for him, but she won't love him enough to have the conversation like, I need some space. But she wants to be treated as an equal because she brings up, so will I be High Lady? Right? So you may say she's intimidated, but if she wants to be his equal, does she not see herself as his equal?
No, because she actually doesn't want to be High Lady when she first asked that in the first book. She's worried about it. She doesn't want that pressure. And she's like, oh, am I going to be High Lady? And he's like, no, that's not a thing.
Yeah.
She sure acts like it with the water.
Yeah.
What's the word? Who she goes and literally disobeys exactly what Tamlin says we can't do. Her actions show that she sees herself on equal footing. That's all I'm saying.
But so I can agree with what you're saying, that she needed to face him. So yes, it was, I think, wrong for Rhys to take her at that moment. Better taking her than having the proper wedding, because I think like that was the worst thing that could happen. But the worst thing for me is that Fairy never talked about this, like, and she was like, okay, I'm gonna be here like all comfy, and never send word that this is something that I actually want. And if you are realizing that there might be a war between different courts, I think that the minimum thing that you can do, if not communicate, because you feel it needs to be communicated, at least try to avoid war. But on the other side, Tamlin was not really a receptive listener, right? Like he wasn't even sleeping with her, in the sense that she had this massive nightmares and he was like, cool, good night. And it was like, no, like, yes, there's pain, but this is like basics. No?
Well, I will say, because Jess said the exact same thing you said, and I went to the book to show that she knew. So first off, Tamlin never woke up when she had her nightmares in the book, but she is the one, because we're seeing her point of view, who states he wakes up in the middle of the night with terrible nightmares and sleeps at the end of the bed. And so she saw him going through and never once asked him or tries to help him either. So
I do think it's implied that he might have been pretending to sleep while she was getting sick and having nightmares.
Yes,
but yeah,
no, I understood that as well.
Yeah, that's what I got from it. But I do want to say, Monica also said, you also have to realize that Farah was dealing with trauma and Tamlin was dealing with trauma. Neither were communicating. Communication is not just speaking, but listening. So yeah, neither of them were really good at communicating what happened under the mountain and what they were going through. I still personally love the wedding scene. It's one of my favorite scenes in ACOTAF, but
no.
I just put myself in the shoes of Tamlin at that moment and how blindsided I would be and how the only place in the world I wouldn't want her to go would be there with Rhys. Any place with Rhys at that moment, actually. When you know the history, too, behind him.
How did you feel about the High Priestess, Ianthe, who was essaying Lucian? What were your thoughts on Ianthe, just in general?
Oh, I hate her.
Good.
Like,
there's no other answer.
Like, she was a good character. Like, she was very hateable. She was one of the few characters I was like even Amarantha, I was like, oh, she's a really cool, like, she was a good villain. Like,
she was a good villain.
I hate villains that do stupid things, and I thought she was very evil. And Ianthe was very evil, but like, I just hated her. Like, I just, I did not like anybody who was like her. And I think she was well written, and she played her role in the book very well. But that's my thoughts.
Okay. Yeah. I feel like she felt compelled to marry Tamlin because she had nowhere else to go. Her family told her not to return. I agree with this too. I think she didn't know what else to do. Like, she didn't realize there was an out of that marriage. And she was just sending, without realizing it, that message down the bond, being like, help me, I want to get out of this. Like, she didn't know Reese was going to winnow in and do all of that.
Yeah.
5 weeks before that, she had the happiest day in her life, which is when she accepted the proposal.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, that's
Is it
pretty odd. You know, like everything seems to line up. I'd give my life for you. I'll do anything. You are the love of my life. Then 1.5 months later, 1 month later, you accept the proposal. And now 4 to 6 weeks later, you're like, you don't even deserve a reason. Peace. Just seems a little quick.
Yeah, no, yeah, I agree that. And I think that she felt like so invested, like, right? Like she almost died. Well, she died because of him. And he also feels super guilty. So it's like, this needs to happen. We need to marry. But then she's like, okay, we already did this. Now let's feel what we are feeling. And she realizes that she's broken, but she just does not know how to share that. And yeah, maybe it's not for us to say that Tamlin should have seen that, but he was older and, you know, probably he should have.
Well, I will also say afterwards, like looking back, calming down on some things, you know, a couple weeks later, you know, I do also relate with, you know, I think we all do, of being younger and not making the best choices based on emotion. So looking back, I'm like, hey, I have a book in its own self of self-destructive things I did when things seemed like they were going really well to, you know, I got to a point where I'm like in this relationship, and then it's like it was always me. You know, it's like, why did I do that looking back, you know? And it definitely is just maturity and age. So I do give that some more merit now, but I still overall I think that's the only thing I didn't like, which caused a bitter taste in my mouth for half the book till she just got so cool that I was like, all right, Feyre's at least average again.
Okay.
This comment is so true also. The one of low standards, but not necessarily low standards, but I think that she didn't know a lot of stuff, right? I think that she starts to realize that there's more when she gets with Reese and she starts to know more people, see their dynamics. And at the beginning, it's super heartbroken to see how she's like, but these people, it's friendly. Like these people they talk whatever the way they want. And I think that's like a new world opening for her and like the tipping point for her.
Agreed.
I will say, I think Feyre and Tamlin were very similar people at the beginning of the relationship. I think that Feyre found comfort because she was the protector of her family. And she was always the one who said, Nesta, you need to chop the wood. Like, I do everything. I provide. I protect. Like, I go out and do all this stuff. And basically, no one else was capable in her eyes except for her to keep them going. And so I think in the beginning, she found someone that could protect her, which her family couldn't do. And she really likes the idea of that. And then Reese kind of shows her, hey, like, you don't have to carry the weight of everything, and gives her the kind of like autonomy or the agency she needs to kind of spread her wings and, you know, grow as a character. So I think at the end of it, that's how I kind of chopped it up. Yeah, it wasn't low standards. I think it was just inexperience, maybe.
Yeah.
This person, I would like to see Tamlin get redeemed and have his own book. So I agree. I would like to see Tamlin get redeemed.
Me
We'll
too.
see if that actually happens.
I would like to see a book from his POV and maybe not redeem himself. Like, I would just like to see, you know, like, I want to know what was going on those weeks where he's gone, you know, or I want to know where or what happened with the friends he sent in prior and, you know, before he stopped sending them to look for a cure. Like, I want to know, is he just like pushed to psychotic controllingness because of Feyre, or was it there before? You know, I would love to explore his character because it seems such a tortured soul, and in the end, he still always does what's right for her. in the
I
end.
forgot to tell you, but you get to see more of him in that novella. So you might want to read the novella before A Court of Silver Flames.
Yeah, he gave her a splinter and she ruined his entire life happily ever after. Yes. Like, I just thought, we are really dumping everything on Tamlin, when in reality, as a guy, I kind of like sympathized with him, where it was like, I don't think he's playing the role of controlling boyfriend, like that is just, I think we just didn't get enough of why, but I think you're supposed to. Like, I think we couldn't get that in these first 3 books because of all the things that are unveiled about him from her point of view and from other stories she hears. And I don't think we could have that perspective during the books and get the same love-hate experience which everyone has around him and Rhys.
Yeah.
Tampon.
I love this. No, don't read the novella.
Christmas
He's been
special?
hearing me scream about how much I hate this novella. I finally finished it, by the way, yesterday.
We started it in the car,
Yes.
and I was like, oh, multi POVs. And then Rhys's first POV came up and I was like, turn it off. I don't want his POV. Actually, it's going to ruin the character. And so I just didn't listen to the novella at all.
You guys, I need to read it this week. And all of these comments are not like hyping me. I already hated it the first time around. So
yeah, it's not better the second time around.
Just like, you need to do a recap video so that no one needs to read this book ever. Never, ever. That's
Maybe,
like,
yeah.
Unless you want to learn how to use the restroom like Amryn. Like, it's literally a whole scene, a whole chapter.
No.
Hi, Deb. Oh, yes. A need to Tamlin's POV has led me to fanfic. Yeah, I would like to see. I hope Tamlin gets redemption in future books.
Me too.
All right.
I would really like to know more on the Night Court, Spring Court, family feud. Like, because
So prequel.
That's, maybe I was confused, but to me, that was no matter what with the favor stuff, the most screwed up thing that Tamlin did was betray Rhys. And got his mom
in a very big way.
I was like, there was like no matter what I can say for favor and Tamlin, nothing redeemed that action to me, which was the turn. When I read that, I was like, okay, I can have some hate for Tamlin now because that is really screwed up.
Yeah.
So that was kind of when I went Team Rhys.
All right. So how do you feel about Farrah's relationship with Rhys? And do you think it was toxic at all? The quiet.
I think first of all, I love the romance. I just wish I could delete the first 10 chapters of their interactions where he's literally like, right, it's like, hey, I can see into your mind and I'm going to make you right that you love me, because that's not psychological manipulation. Like, that just to me was like, hey, I'm not going to let you leave this compound so that you fall in love with me. I'm just going to make you right that you love me. And I happen to know all your feelings. So I'm going to randomly bring up that you are throwing up because you can't see the color red. Now, who would know that? That seems manipulative. So that is what I found toxic. Not once they were in love, regardless of the mating bond that Rhys knew about, was the way that it came about. So I really enjoyed the romance. I just didn't like the start.
Okay.
Start chapter 54. Is that the cabin?
Yes. And you sent me this, and I was like, this might be the end of our marriage. So chapter 54, starting slow, ... boring.
Yes. It sped up.
I love. Chapter 54 is my favorite in that entire book. Chapter 55 is good, but chapter 54 is like
I no longer use the word feast in my daily vocabulary.
Okay, well, that's going to lead into this.
Neither.
So,
Unnecessary.
did
Unnecessary.
you find the intimate scenes in the series to be well written and tasteful, or did they feel gratuitous and unnecessary? So, what were your feelings about the intimate scenes? Because I was really worried. However, now having read a lot more romance and going back, it's not that like explicit. It's pretty tame in terms of intimate scenes.
I didn't think there was issues at all.
Okay.
I made sure I listened to every word of every book, so I didn't skip anything. In the fantasy books I normally would read, it would kind of fade to black, if that's the term I think it is.
Yeah.
But it was kind of entertaining seeing how many different ways you could phrase things, like the dawn entering, and I don't use the word considerable length anymore.
I don't know.
There's certain phrases I had to remove.
Velvet Wrap Steel's another really good one that they like.
So I mean, I thought the romance scenes were okay, and I guess that's it.
Were there any plot twists or revelations that generally surprised you, or did you find it really predictable?
No. I think overall, I would give it a 4 out of 5 if we were the overall series. So, I mean, that kind of equates to an 8. And I think there were a lot of characters I loved. And I think the plot had plenty of twists. And I think there were a lot that I didn't predict. The father was one. I didn't see that coming. Which I really liked that kind of, or his little journey. And I didn't see the sisters becoming turned into fae.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. The Tamlin Reese stuff, like that whole background, I really liked. The Lucian twist, I didn't really see. With the, who's the father.
Yeah.
And I think overall, I really liked Hybern too. Like, I like the villains in the series. And I think when you do a villain, you have to, like, they just seemed sinister and just, like, ruthless. And they scared me. So I was like, good job. Like, there was none of these, like, I'll let you live. So, it was just like, okay, kill them or do this. Or, like, they were how I would picture a villain really acting, And his traps were really good. And I thought they were going to get out of stuff more often than they actually did when it came to Hybern in the end of book 2 and in book 3. Like, I thought there would be a lot more scenes where it'd be like, oh, and the spy thing, I liked that.
In book
like
3?
The faking of the breaking of the mating bond, and just like, now I have a spy in the court and what's he say, Jess? You know it. What's he say?
I haven't quoted it many times, where he, at the end of Akamath, where he's like, she's my spy and High Lady of the Night Court. And like, yeah.
So I just like that he trusts her enough to let her do that, which is Tamlin would never do. So like, you obviously see why their bond is so strong. But I loved that twist because again, she's going back to just mess up Tamlin's head. Like, it's poor Tamlin.
And see, I thought you were going to hate that part. So I was really happy you liked it, but I thought you were going to be like, oh, that was unnecessary for her to do that.
Yeah. I actually think
the third book was my favorite.
Really? No.
Yes.
Okay, so that's going to bring us to this one. So you're going to describe, I'm very interested to see how you do with this. Describe each book in 3 words.
Oh, geez. Book 1. Can I? Book 1, I would say retelling.
Yeah.
I would say, geez, this is hard. I would say one word, retelling.
3 words. You get 3 books per title. 3 words per title.
Okay. So retelling. Whew.
Nesta.
Retelling. This is hard. Retelling.
Okay, we got
Love
retelling.
Triangle? I don't know. Retelling Love Triangle? I don't really know.
Okay.
That's hard.
All right, book 2.
Book 2. I would say True Love. That's 2. I would say cool. I don't. Oh man, this is hard. I would say I'm gonna do like 3 phrases, maybe.
Okay, so
Like
just summarize the books.
True Love, Broken Heart, and Betrayal.
Okay.
Book 3, I would say awesome. No. I would say
Nesta.
family. No. Yeah, Nesta. That would be the 3 words for no. I would say family or real family. I would say action packed. And I would say great ending.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like,
Okay.
I like the way everything came to a conclusion, which is hard to do, I think. Like, I don't really want more. I think if it's like a TV series where they go 1 season too many.
Yeah.
And that was a Christmas special.
Totally. Yeah. I think that book 3 is super different from book 1, right? Like from a fantasy standpoint, it really gets more rich. We will have these different politics involved, these war, all of these feels super different to book 1, where it was like, we're just here in the court and then let's do some tournaments, but in just 50 pages. So let's do this quick. So I don't know, it felt more rich to me.
I agree. I think we talked, Issa, I think we talked about, like, while I was reading it, you were asking my thoughts, and I just like, it feels like Beauty and the Beast, and it feels like there wasn't a lot of world building.
Yeah.
Like, there was a description of the roses and the Starlight Pond and the, like, compound, but I didn't have a lot of context of the magic, the different elements, the layers, who were in each court, and you really kind of unpacked that through the end of the 2nd book and the 3rd book. And that was the fantasy side that really brought, what met my expectations going into it. And so I was really glad by the end of book 3, it had the fantasy side that I was really craving. And I think it all came together very well.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Jurian, yes. Jurian.
Go back to Jurian.
Yeah, Jurian, I said to Jess, I know he's kind of a jerk, but I was like, I kind of like him. Like, he seems like a very interesting character. And then, like, a week later, she's like, so did you find anything out about Jurian? I was like, yeah, he's a good guy.
Book 3, when Jurian says, I think Rhysand like unleashed you upon us, that's one of my favorite lines from Jurian.
Yeah.
It's a good one.
I got chills thinking about the end of Court of Mist and Fury. That ending is just so good. Like, and you, Scott, I think you went right into Aquawar, right? Because you were going to take a break. And I was like, you're not going to want to take a break after you finish A Court of Mist and Fury.
For some reason, you kept thinking I only wanted to read 2 of the 3 books.
Yeah.
Once I start, like I did that with Sanderson, like once I started Stormlight, I read every book nonstop. Yeah. Wheel of Time, I'm on book 9, and I just started like 2 months ago. So it's like I had to finish, except for the Christmas special. But the book 3, I needed to get into book 3, like immediately. So I think I started within 5 minutes of finishing book 2.
Yeah. This person asks, I haven't read book 4, but does Az get a love interest?
No. No. You're reading between the lines too much again, Jess.
Yeah, Scott refuses. This is like a slight spoiler for not a Court of Silver Flames, a Court of Frost and Starlight. But I think Elaine and Azriel, there's something going on there. Scott does not believe that that is a thing at all. So people in the comments and Issa, what are your thoughts on that?
I think there is something there.
Yeah, it's at least implied. Like,
yes. At that point,
I mean, that would be, I don't know. I just feel like it's almost taking the stance of like, you can't respect or befriend someone of the opposite sex without it being flirting or, like I just don't think. And they made a comment about his mother and like how she was treated and how he doesn't want to see another woman, treated that way. And I don't know. It obviously wasn't going great with Moore.
No. But it's Az. Like, he's not that friendly with anyone, right? So it just means something.
Yeah.
I don't know if I have it on here, but at one point, Scott, you compared me to Azriel, and it made my day.
I named it.
Oh, there you go. 3 words. Nesta.
Oh, Nesta. There we go.
Wait.
Yes,
You actually said Nesta a lot.
She's great. Well, she becomes great, but
yeah. So I can't find it, but why do you like Nesta so much?
So one thing that was unique to me was reading a single POV book. So I got to create the context around it, just like you like to do with Azriel and Elaine.
Issa saying no.
not the
I
same.
kind of was like, hey, this fiery girl has so much more. And from the moment that you found out she went after Feyre, there was like, okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Elaine reaching. Yeah. So in the very first 4 chapters of the first book, I made a prediction to Jess. I was like, maybe Feyre, when she paints, is kind of prophetic would be the word, like it was, hey, like purple, violet, flowers for Elaine, and she's gonna have something to do with that. And then fire for Nesta. And I was like, I like fiery women. So, like I was just like, there's something there that this story's missing, like that really stubborn, but yet like, you're not going to tell me what to do. And I'm going to go out on my own and kind of like correct everything that needs to be corrected. So like, I kind of, I just thought there was a lot more to unpack with her, and all the things I wanted to peg to a character that I was missing while reading Feyre, I projected onto her, which is why I was saying Nesta.
Yeah.
Yeah,
like,
Elaine does feel one-dimensional.
Yeah. Nesta has that tipping point, right? Like when she starts being preoccupied for her, and we know that she has went to seek her in a way, it's like, okay, you're different now. At least that was the moment for me in which I was like, okay, I can like Nesta now. And from that moment onwards, I liked her. And she being like super, brave and direct and all that was great. But up till that point, she was like, you can die out there, Fairy. It's fine. I will be here, like doing my stuff. Don't touch Elaine. This is our thing now. And that's super unfair. But
yeah, like you don't get a lot of Nesta.
Yeah.
Which is why I think I was in the parts of the book where I was still mad about the whole Rhys sweeping her and letting her avoid that.
Yeah.
I was just kind of like wanting a character to fill this role I was looking for, which they kept doing with Feyre. They kept bringing her back and making her be awesome at the end of the book and doing all this crazy like cool stuff. But I just wanted someone who, and it's funny because Nesta then loses that all after the third book, and you're like, okay, but through the first 3 books, she kind of met the expectations and rose to the occasion, especially when she came out of the cauldron.
Yes.
She was the only character to strike fear or some kind of uneasiness in Highburn, and it was from one finger point, and he was just like, and I was like, she is awesome.
And doesn't she have a vulgar gesture when she's going into the cauldron? I've seen fan art of that. Yeah.
That attitude, that's what I love. So.
Yeah. And she took from the cauldron, right? Like she's the only one that has done so. So.
Yes, exactly. Which again, that Nesta.
I'm awesome.
You guys are allowed to have Reese. Why can't I have Nesta? Huh?
No.
Because Reese is perfection, and Nesta, after A Court of Silver Flames, I like Nesta. But from the first 3 books, I definitely would not have considered her my favorite character.
I didn't say she was my favorite. I just said
Nesta.
I came home and you were singing. I'm sorry. What is your World of Warcraft character name?
Oh, yeah. So my little brother wanted to play World of Warcraft. I didn't have a character. So I'm like, okay, I got to make a character. And they had like some kind of high elf looking character. I was like, that's who I'm going to be. And I will say, I had to like add an extra S in there because every version of Nesta you could imagine was taken, there's a reason because everyone wants to be her.
So I just hear him screaming, "No, Nesta!" And I was like, "Did you name your character Nesta?" And he's like, "Yeah."
I was just Nesta running around fireballing everything. I was like, "I'm Nesta," So.
And what's your name? I'm dying if your name is Tam. Like, what's your name?
His name is Nesta.
Nesta. Really?
Yeah.
I thought it was occupied, that name. Okay.
No, so I added an extra S, so it's Nesta.
Is the better to her too? Yes.
I'm hating Nesta, loving her.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think A Court of Silver Flames makes you love her.
Yes.
So I'm really interested, Scott, if you read A Court of Silver Flames, I feel like you might actually have a reverse effect.
Mm-hmm.
I think you might dislike Nesta a little bit. Yeah. Because I feel like she has to heal similar to how Farah did.
Yeah.
As long as it's on a logical, natural progression, I'll be okay with it. You know what I mean? Like, if it makes sense. Like, if she has double standards or if she, but I just feel like it's okay to have it, like, issues. We all have issues. It's just when you make exceptions or, excuses for one that you didn't make at a different time. So I don't see her doing that. So I think I would still like her. And I'm in too deep now. So that just like you guys can get over Reese because you're like, just keep reading. Just keep reading. There'll be reasons. You're like, who cares about the toxic or manipulation that goes on in the beginning? You can look past that.
Yeah.
I think the same thing would happen with Nesta.
Yeah. Oh, I agree.
That's right, Tiff.
From the start, Nesta can read between the lines. I do not always agree with her choices, but they are fierce, even when cruel. Elaine is a different story. That is very true. Nesta, she will back up whatever she says and, definitely fierce. Yeah, that's why I did skip that comment. You have to read book 5. I'm sorry. I don't want to say anything.
Yeah, me too.
See?
I love Nesta.
I agree.
Although it felt like that book felt also super different to what we've read in this trilogy. Did you have the same feeling, Jess?
Which one?
A Court of Silver Flames.
Felt very different. Yes.
Yeah.
Is that the 5th one? It's
the 4th book, but the 5th one because the other one's a novella, yeah.
And to me, it was more spicy. At least I remember it that way. I'm going to read it, but I remember feeling like, whew.
I didn't mention this to Scott, but it is the spiciest out of all of them by far.
That's fine.
That's fine. I think it's my Nesta.
It's fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah, there
she
you go.
marketed the A Court of Silver Flames as adults, and the rest were published as young adult, and that's probably why.
Okay, yeah.
But can we talk about Nesta and Cassian? Because Cassian was also my favorite character of the Inner Circle.
Yeah.
And then I was like, Nesta and Cassian, they gotta be a match. And that was, as soon as I met Cassian, I was like, oh, like when he was they went to he met the sisters for the first time. And that's how I would have seen Nesta. I'd be like, who is this like fiery girl? And that's what Cassian saw. But I think Jess also said I was most like Cassian as far as like my personality.
I think your personality is most like Cassian. Like if
So,
I was to relate you to one of the Bat Boys.
Yes, I'm not jacked or wings, but personality wise, similar. So as soon as those two gravitated towards each other, that made me like both even more.
Yeah.
And I think I texted you, Jess, was like, I came up with whatever name for the two of them,
Yes.
and I was like, hey, this needs to happen. And she's like, that's already a thing, Scott.
Yeah.
See if we can find it.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. Wait, that was it. Yes, Nesta, Cassian, more Azriel. And maybe that's why I want to refuse the Elaine thing, because I want Moore and Azriel to be together.
And that's going to be problematic.
Yeah.
Well, they should be. They're a good match.
Unfortunately, Moore does not feel that way.
No.
Cassian is such a teddy bear. I love him.
What I like about Nesta and Cassian is that from moment one, it's like seems to be a connection there, right? Like Nesta is different, or she appears not softer, but she cares for him and she kind of shows. And I think it's the only person that we can see that. Like not even she acts that way with Farah. It's just Cassian. Like it's like, where is he? Is he in the war? But where? And it's like, dude, your sister is there. Like she almost died. But
no.
But also, I will say, I think Sarah J. Is it Moss or Mass?
Either.
Anyway, I think SJM did a good job with. You could spend 50 pages to say the same thing you can say the way that she did it with Nesta and Cassian in the battlefield scene, where you don't see Nesta show these feelings at all. And you don't need to write about Nesta. You just need to show that one scene to show how she feels. Mm-hmm. And I thought that was again, just a great way to build the characters quickly and, versus needing to see a POV or needing to read about something for 30 pages to get what they feel.
Yeah.
So Court of Silver Flames is a different tone than the rest of the series. Cassian is the best hero in the series. Yes. And then Cass, he is a precious teddy bear. I love a lethal yet cuddly cinnamon roll that can make me laugh. So Issa, who's your favorite Bat Boy? I think I know.
I think I really like Az.
Don't say Azriel.
That's Az.
Yes, like he just feels like he needs love, right, from someone. And I believe that if
you're a fixer, he needs to be fixed. I love it.
No, but
it needs to be understood. He's just like quiet and brooding. And
yes, it feels so unfair to me. Like I feel he's more like an introvert and more introspective and everything, but
that's an understatement.
But he is smart and he has a key role like in the Inner Circle and for the Night Court. So it's not that he is not important. He's the spy master and he's the strategist. So I really like that side, but also the side like that he's tormented and that he's like, I'm gonna do these and I'm not gonna be up front. But I love it. And I just want him to be happy. Honestly, it just feels that he needs it. Not
he deserves it. He deserves all of the happiness.
Exactly, he deserves it. And I mean, I hated the trilogy because he was like, and what about us? Like he's like, all cool, I'm alone. Bye. Everyone's together. I don't know.
Then the Moore scene is that the third book, right?
Yeah.
The third book, the more scene where she talked with Feyre.
Yes.
About yeah.
So, at that stage, I was like, well, it's going to be tough.
It's going to be impossible.
But, yeah. But, I mean, I want Az to be happy. But I think he needs someone, like, more. At least, he doesn't need to. But I just think that's a better fit than Elaine. And I feel like Lucian, I don't know. I don't know what goes on there. I'm just saying, I want Lucian and Elaine to be the bond to click in, So, I'm fighting the Az talk as much as possible.
I prefer the man who is more direct. Cassian, Az has too many secret layers. I ain't got time for that. Okay, April.
It's interesting.
I don't feel we have enough time to really get to know him as well as we did with Rhys, Tamlin, and Cass. I completely agree with this.
Yes.
But I feel like you guys like him because of the mystery.
But I think that if we were to know more, I would like him even more. Like, it's not, I like him because it's mystery.
I didn't know a lot about Nesta, but then I ended up filling in more.
Yeah.
Like, you don't get that same development on Az. I will say that.
Did you read the extra chapter in A Court of Silver Flames from Az's perspective? Because I feel like that's one of the only times we get.
No, I don't think so.
Oh, you should do that.
No. In the reread, I will. No, at least I don't remember. If I did, I don't remember. No, I want to.
Yeah, no, it's good. It involves both potential love interests with Az.
Okay.
I feel like Azriel and Elaine wouldn't be too great of a pair unless Elaine goes through major character development. She's just too flat of a character right now to make it seem realistic. Yeah.
Agreed. Yeah.
I also feel like two introverts don't always work very well together. And I'm like, I understand it's fantasy, so that doesn't actually matter, but
also sometimes, I mean, it could be, I don't know. I'm not an introvert, but sometimes like two introverts, there may be one who's not as introverted once they break that mold. Like maybe Azriel is more outgoing when he feels in a safe place, but maybe only one or two people in the world can make him feel that way. So like sometimes I feel like behind closed doors, which again, whoever said Michaela, yes, I feel like with more development, it could be a possibility, but on the surface level, it seems like a reach. And that's just because you guys want Azriel to be happy. Like, let's just make up a different character eventually he can find.
There's potential. There's a few potential love interests down the road. It's not
the queen. Maybe the queen that turns into a firebird.
Vasa?
Yeah.
I ship Vasa with someone else.
Did you?
No.
Oh yeah. Lucian and Vasa is like, I'm going down with that. That is my biggest guess. All right. What other series would you think Scott would like to read? Maybe Jay Bree, Bonds That Tie. I don't think he'd be able to get through the Bonds That Tie, but I do want you to read Ice Planet Barbarians. At least book 1.
It should not be multiple books.
I love both Az and Cass, and I get what you mean by toxic trade and wanting to peel back all of those layers on Azriel. Team Azriel, I just get a vibe that he's going to be my favorite. Yeah.
It's just amazing.
Azriel needs someone who loves him fully. Moore can't give him that. She loves him as family only. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Agreed. I agree.
Azriel and you know who, not Elaine. But also, I think it would be way too cliche for like that is my biggest thing is I would be really annoyed if it does end up being the 3 and the 3. Like the 3 from the inner circle and then the 3 sisters. Like that seems very convenient.
That is super Sarah J. Maas, to be honest. Like everyone, it ends up with everyone, and they made it. Everyone has made it, and everything. It's fantastic.
Okay. I know this isn't the same thing, but you said everyone made it. What I wanted was I thought someone should have died.
He finishes the series, looks at me and said, "But why didn't anyone die though?" Like that would have been.
Yeah.
I talk about heartbreak and drama, and you're already crying over 4 different things. Like if you lose Azriel, which I thought would be the pick I would take, is Azriel is gone, or maybe you think he's gone, but like at least for now, because they really don't go into his shadow power. Like, I don't really know what he does, but like, or maybe he can still communicate through shadows, but he's gone just to really make you cry again in the future. But like
Not
I would have just liked. I think it would have been more impactful.
Yeah.
And really, it could have pushed me over an 8 out of 10 rating if there was a little bit more heartbreak than the father.
Yeah.
Even Amron came back. Like everyone came back.
Yeah. I thought Elaine was going to die when I read it the first time.
Sort of. Yes. I just don't like I don't like when characters die and then come back unless it's once or twice in the whole series. So
He needs a personality transplant for a character. I just don't care. Yeah. And Vasa is friends with Jurian, but I don't think it's like a love interest from what I remember. But I'm still in the middle of reading book 4. See. And vlog Ice Planet Barbarians. I want to hear his thoughts on the big blue aliens.
Maybe we could do a short, film a short or something.
Okay.
I don't know how much I'd have to say on it.
Would he like Zoe Draven's Horde King series? I need to read that series. I don't know.
Oh, and can we give a shout out to the only queen who stood up for the right thing and then just got dropped on a spire or something?
By the adder? Yeah.
Like, she was one of the few that died, but like, I was like she's the one who saved everything.
Yeah.
I do have that on here somewhere. Let's say.
Like,
here it is.
She did not go out well.
Mm-mm.
Like, I thought all the villains, like even the adder, like she did really great job. Like SJM did a great job with all of the opposition, I thought. Like,
so real quick, you wrote, no, Highburn is coming. No, I told you not to tell them about Valyria, which you meant Valaris.
There's autocorrect, I'm sure.
Then more, what the F? I told you she was going to die. What the F? So I guess you read it wrong. And then you put Jess. I knew it. Never trust the queens. I said, oh, the queen died.
Yeah, I had to go back because I was like, I re-listened again because I was trying to like take notes almost. But then I'm listening again and I'm like, that wasn't more. But I love more. She was my second favorite female character.
Not Amron?
Exactly.
Oh, Amron, they're tied. I like them both. Amron was really cool, and I think I would have liked her. I would have put her ahead of Moore if she didn't come back.
Okay.
I'm just saying. And I didn't hear the bathroom scene in book 4.
I'm sorry I made you listen to that. From the novella, not book 4, but yeah.
Or the novella.
All right. If you had to choose one character to be your best friend in real life, who would it be and why?
Best friend?
Yeah. And Issa, I want your answer on this too.
It'd be Reese 100%.
It'd be Reese?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Yes.
Why?
Well, I feel like he likes to, when he's bored, he just likes to, create a little mischief to keep himself entertained. And I relate. So I don't know. Like, I feel like we'd be a little like,
I feel like you and Cassian would be like, you would be with Cassian when he gets kicked out of the summer court for like burning down that building or knocking over that building. Like, I could see you guys being friends.
Cassian, I think we'd be friends too, yes. But like, best friends, I think Reese has more layers and is a better listener probably. So I feel like we kind of like They like me and Joe would be like me and Reese.
Never
Like, probably
compared.
don't want us hanging
Never
out,
compared Joe to Reese.
but like, you know, we're probably gonna get into like some trouble. But we'd be, I think, best friends. Like me and Cassian would be. I think Cassian would be second.
Yeah.
But I just think that Cassian, he's like, I don't know. He's in the wedding party. He's not the best man.
Okay. Issa, who would you pick?
I want to say Farah, but I actually don't feel like that. I don't feel that she
Good
will
choice.
be great listening, or I just think that she has like a lot of stuff and that she is a little bit self-absorbed. So I really believe that I will be friends with us. Like I feel that we could have yes I think that we could have like way more conversations, like just we can get
Oh
on.
yeah, way more conversations.
Yes, really. I mean, I
They'd
don't
just be
feel.
short.
What?
No, he'll talk if he has something important to say, he will say it.
No, yes, and I don't think that he is like he never talks, and like Danny, he's like that. Like he's like not that talkative with people, but then with me is like we talk. So yes, we can make this work, and me and Asriel, we can. So I think that it will be a perfect blend. Like he would listen, I would listen, he will open, everything will be fantastic. This is how I project this. What about you? Yes.
I'm actually gonna go with more. I feel like I need someone that's a little bit more like extroverted. Like I feel like I would go out, have fun, go to a bar, stuff like that with her. So
Yeah.
I
I
agree
feel
with
like
that.
Azrael would be cool, but like I don't talk very often, so it'd be like both of us being kind of quiet.
Poor Farah, though. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not best friending Farah.
Nope.
She's like she's on the if people say no to the wedding invitation, she's on that list. Well,
Yeah.
we'll send one to her.
Yeah, I agree with this. For a female, Moore would be a great friend, and Guy, Cassian, he makes me laugh and he just seems like a lot of fun and down to do whatever. Veg out and watch movies. When I think of Cassian, I do think the one scene from A Quarter Frost and Starlight when him and Farah are decorating and they drink 2 bottles of wine. Like, I love that.
Okay, so I would like to put an asterisk on my answer then.
Okay.
Because I do feel like you get a lot more about Cassian in the novella and book 4.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't read those.
Yeah.
And I feel like Cassian I'm still too topical with, where with Reese, a lot of things he says, I'm like, oh, that I would have said that exact same thing there. And just the mischief that he kind of gets in, or like gets a rise out of, I relate to that. Whereas Cassian, I need more under the hood. Like, I don't know what else he's, I want that other side that I get to see of with Reese, especially due to the connection with Farah.
Yeah. Mm.
Live concert. That's true.
They'd be watching the Tamlin Traveling Fiddle Band.
Yes, I've been sending him, if anyone's familiar with TikTok, the Tamlin guy that dances, I constantly send him the Tamlin dancing. All right, so out of all of the deaths in the book, which made you the most emotional? I know you wanted more death, but out of what we got.
The death of Tamlin and Farah.
No.
I'm kidding.
Wow.
No, I think I like the father's death.
Yeah. You like it? Like,
Well, I
that
mean,
was a weird
it
phrasing.
was unfortunate, but I mean, that death I was kind of, impacted by.
What about the Suriel? Because that's the one that like broke me.
The Suriel was, I felt, an underrated character. I really liked the Suriel. Like,
it's Prithian's gossip girl, just gossip queen.
Yeah, but I don't know. Suriel dying, that sucked. the father, his death, I thought was, judging the book in context, was good, impactful, and like I said, I felt like there needed to be some kind of loss to, even though I read fantasy, I do want some kind of like realism. I don't like the perfect happy ending story because that just never really happens. So I like some, in the plot, some kind of balance, I guess, so to speak. Because you go back and you look at the war 500 years before, and there was all kinds of loss, all kinds of people dying. And so this war, I would expect somewhat similar. But the father and the serial are good answers. And I guess so when you say which death you said that I liked the best?
Were you most like affected by emotionally?
I don't know how you're going to bring a worse villain back than Highburn.
Okay.
Like, I thought he was a really good villain, but like, who else died that would really impact you?
Claire better. That just kind of
that's so messed up. Like,
that was an oops.
Oopsie.
Yeah.
And that's something with Reese where I got him. I understood why he wouldn't correct that, or like he'd like said, yeah, that's her, because that's what at that stage, only more negative outcomes are going to come from not saying, oh yeah, that's exactly who she was. But poor, like, I think I called you or talked to you, Jess, like right after that happened. I was just like,
I just pulled it up on the screen. You said Claire Bitter's whoopsie. Yeah, that was like, definitely did not mean to do that.
Yeah. Oops. So, and then someone said Nesta reads between the lines. Like, there you go. I put like Nesta puts things together. That's something I do like about her. But that was definitely the most unfortunate death.
Yeah.
But yeah. So, and then well, then there's the two that favor offs. The two, that.
Oh, the Fae, yeah.
That was
I'm sorry,
sad.
the Fae youths.
The Fae youths, yes, Jess, you're correct.
Yes, Scott did not remember them being called youths, and
he's like, she just off the kids, and I'm like, they weren't kids, they were youths,
They were youths. It says it in the first book.
Teens.
Whereas the dad was useless until the end. Claire's death was really sad. Yeah.
Serial, that was sad. She was a cool character.
Yeah.
Like,
for me, I think it was the father. That death, it was like, no. It was so impromptu, right? And you see how Nesta is reacting, and because she's so uptight, then suddenly seeing how she feels that, it's like terrible 2 times.
Also, what Tip just said, the Bone Carver and Weaver did hit me when I reread it. They lived for centuries, and that war took them out. I don't know. It got me. I just reread this yesterday, and when the Weaver screams when her brother dies, I was like, oh my God, I totally forgot about that part.
The Bone Carver, I thought, was a really neat character.
I really like the Bone Carver.
Yeah.
I liked the mystery still around it. I liked how people saw him differently. The fact that he came off as like their kid, I thought that was pretty, interesting. But the death didn't hit me because that's kind of what he wanted, I think, right? Like he was ready to be done with being alive for so long. And I think the Weaver, it was the first time that they kind of like personified or like gave her some kind of like, hey, she's not just a monster, but it's like they're trapped in this realm where they don't fit. So like I kind of saw that as what the Bone Carver wanted from the very beginning. Like,
what did you think about Reese having the engagement ring in the Weaver's cottage? Because I remember when you were reading this without knowing, and you were just like, I just don't see why he made her do that. Like, there wasn't a better way of doing it. And the entire time I'm like, oh, there's a reason this happened.
Yeah, this is why Reese would be my best friend. Like, that was hilarious. Like, his mom was like, you got to make him do this, whoever she's going to be. And he's like, I got this. I figured it out. Like, we'll say this is the justification, but in reality, you know, it's like afterwards it's fun to laugh about, but
Yeah.
it's kind of like what happens if she didn't make it out? It's just like, oops, another Claire Bitters, whoopsie. Like, but I thought that was interesting. I loved Ianthe just getting destroyed by the Weaver.
Oh, I was like, we love Ianthe.
That was perfect.
Yes.
Like, you got the cereal and you're like, oh no, but then you're like, at least some vindication here. Like,
yes.
that was, you know, nice to see.
I just saw this yesterday that made me think of it. I can't not see the meme where he's a 10, but makes you steal his own engagement ring.
And she says it like, you made me go retrieve my own ring. And she's like, yay.
Yeah.
Like, cool.
Someone asked about the pool. I'm trying to find it now. I think this is going to play a role down the line without saying too much. And they swam in a pool of starlight. Actually, what about that pool? I feel like this pool of starlight is going to come into play eventually again.
Maybe.
I really thought so. Like, when I made that prediction that she paints what, you know, I thought all of the predictions had been kind of tapped in the first book. Like, there was violet flowers, the way the moonlight hit them. They swam in the starlight, and I was like, she's painted the night sky stars. Like, she painted these flowers that the moon turned that color. So when I was like, hey, this is just a retelling, I kind of thought, and then Calamai was fire. So I was like, hey, they literally hit on all three things she painted. Like, maybe I was right. Like, maybe she is predicting things.
You were so confident in that, and I was like, yeah, okay.
Until the cabin scene, and I was like, girl, she just went off. She's like, not my property, don't care. Like, it's like a graffiti artist, you know, in Philadelphia. And she's just going off, and but then Jess was like, hey, imagine if she was a terrible painter. And then I had to reread the whole scene again, just thinking about her drawing stick figures, you know, finger painting like a third grader. And I was like, that is almost made me want to reread the whole series just for the
I
scene.
will defend Sarah throughout a lot of stuff, but I would be so mad if I came to my cottage that like me and my friends go to every winter and there's just paintings everywhere.
Okay.
Like, the audacity.
And she's not that good, right? Like, it's not that she's making like art, properly art. She's like,
no, she's doing like pieces of things everywhere.
Yeah.
She starts naming paintings a lot through the third book, I think it is.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, in my mind, like, I want to go plug this into an AI generator and just be like, bad painting of this, and then do the fair collection and just have like all of the paintings she names or she envisions. Like, I'm gonna have to paint that later, and just be like,
the fox stares
horrible.
down death or something like that. Is
Yes.
like one of the titles. Yeah.
Oh, that's hilarious. Yeah.
Yeah, but still, like.
No, I have a question.
Okay.
Because this was not explained really, and this is how I put it together. Was in the beginning, she's sitting there in the first book, and he snaps his finger and the food appears.
Yeah.
But in reality, it was just servants putting it on the table, and he had her glamored, and then he could unglamour her for whatever he wanted her to be unglamored for. So I just took it as everything's going on around her. She was just glamored, and they can't really make food just appear, which is why they have all those servants prepping and putting everything around. And throughout the whole rest of the 2 other books, no one just makes things materialize out of nothing. So I just assumed they didn't have the power to manipulate like matter, like make it disappear or appear. I just took it as
it is just
he lied to her and was like, it's kind of like in a fold and then appears.
I think Moore describes it that way also when she cleans Farah, and Farah's like, I still feel the residue. It's like because the essence is still on you. I just kind of like.
Sorry.
But yeah, I don't think it's explained. Like they don't really go into it.
No, I thought that. Yes.
Do you think she ran into like what she thought was invisible walls or barriers or something? Like, what if the wall was just glamour and fairies holding hands, and she was just like, it's just such a weird thought of like, there's 100 servants on this grounds, and she can only see Alice, Lucian, and Tamlin.
Yeah.
Like, how many? It would be really funny to also see like scenes of how the servants had to walk around her, be like against the wall. She came in the hallway and like, just like Tamlin making something float, and it's just really 3 servants lifting it up.
House is
Yes.
wonderful.
Where's Dobby?
Dobby the house elf.
Dobby, whatever.
Yeah. Well, are there any other parts that you want to talk about that you enjoyed or disliked or?
Trying to think. Oh, what about the guy? Tarquin. I liked him. He was a good character. I thought he was. I guess like if there was another, is the 4th book, the real 4th book, is that start off where the 3rd book ends, or is it kind of during the same time period, or is it all like, I don't know. I'm just trying to like, I would just like to see where some storylines go, like Lucian and Elaine, because I like Lucian, like I like that character, so I want to see where that goes. I want to see where more goes.
It's a continuation. It takes place. I don't know exactly how long after the events, probably like a year, maybe max after the events of book 3 is where book 4 picks up.
Yeah.
I want to also state the only that I don't like, and I don't think, Jess, you like to see, there's one like plot convenience. I don't know what the actual term is, but it's like they were trapped here, and then a magical sword appears with this ability that the author didn't say they had the whole time, and that's how they get out of the situation. I felt like the winged, like the bird people who came from the island. What was their?
I forgot their names, but yeah, the
somebody in the chat knows.
Draken's people.
Yeah.
Anyway, they couldn't be found. They had no, like, I didn't think they had any messages, and then they magically within the 5-minute period needed to show up. Just showed up to turn the tides. So I would have liked some more explanation, even if it was Highburn sent, forces that found the island, and they had to destroy those, and then realized something was seriously wrong and flew. I just wanted some kind of reason other than, hey, I haven't seen you in a few hundred years. Figured we'd come see what, So I just wanted some more context on that. But other than that, a continuation would be, I will read the 4th book. I don't think I can get myself to do the novella.
I'll fill you in on everything that's like super important.
Is there more books like coming out for this, or she hasn't really stated if it's over?
She originally said there's been recent news, but I'm not going to get into it for spoilers of other things, but I believe there's supposed to be at least 2 more ACOTAR books and 1 more ACOTAR novella.
Okay, gotcha. So it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see what happens. I would like to see that. I will finish the series as it comes out. Also, I have an opinion on Amryn that bleeds into a different series. So
don't mention it.
I find that interesting. But anyway, so for right now, this is the only SJM, installment I'm gonna read. But I will stick with it till the end. So
well, you might have to do some other reading, but we'll talk about that privately. What were your favorite scenes? What were your favorite scenes? I want to point out real quick though, the High Lord scene might be my favorite scene in the entire series. I forgot how much I love that scene. It's so good. When all of them are having that like council meeting, and then Tamlin just like shows up.
It's
Like,
epic.
yeah, you got to give him some credit. Like, in the end, he still was like, all right, we'll bring him back. Like,
so I remember we had a discussion because you were defending Tamlin during that, and he says some pretty not nice things to Farah that are a little out of line.
Mm-hmm.
So,
what about it? I would angry Tamlin. I understand he's got some things that I would be upset about too. He's got some decisions he made he's probably not too happy about. But like every time she needed him, he still rose to the occasion. She destroyed his court.
he locked her in his castle at one point.
She lied to him, cost him his land, needed her to save him from Hybern to escape the camp when he could have possibly died from it too. Needed him to bring back the one who stole the love of his life, and yet he still did it to make her. Because in the end, that's what the actions speak louder than the words, you know. And I think in the end, he still did what was right. That shows he cares about her, regardless of the, you know, temper tantrum and you know. You know.
I do think when he saves her when she's at Hybern's camp getting Elaine, I think that's when you're like, okay, he can be redeemed because like he is doing the best for everyone, and he does actually care about her, which we also find out at the very end when he helps bring Rhys back. But
I totally didn't think he was a spy. I thought he was on Hybern's side. Like I didn't think when he talks about like he was going to be a spy on the inside of Hybern's camp, and I'm like, he's definitely not. And then that scene, you're like, oh well, he's screwed now. You know, like his cover's blown, and he actually was, you know, on team Prithian. So I just, pardon this book, Addict has all great opinions. I think we would read the whole day. My favorite scene though was the absolute favorite scene was Nesta pointing at Hybern. That was my favorite scene of the entire series. Like that.
Oh, okay.
That was it. Like that was the coolest. Like I thought he was a great villain. I thought like that just embodied a character and what they stood for. And there were no words spoken. Like it was just like, and that I thought was so cool. I also liked there's a lot of stuff that Rhys scenes with Rhys in it that I liked, but also I guess all my favorite scenes are like the little trivial ones, but I love the fact that Cassian was scared of the book monster in the library. Like that was like hilarious to me. Like Baraxian or what was his name?
Bryaxis. I also love at the end, he's just missing and everyone's just like, oh, we need to find him eventually. Like
like
little lonely library.
That was a cool character, and I guess it's not my favorite scene, but I just find that hilarious that, you know, he's just on the loose. But he doesn't seem bad. No, a favorite scene, I don't know. I think it's definitely Feyre has a couple things she does that are really cool in this end of the second book, because that's what kind of like turned the tides, and I kind of started liking her again because she was doing such cool stuff at the end of the second book.
I'm sorry, I'm going to interrupt you real quick. Your cat's about to light himself on fire. Do you want to call him away from the candle? Okay.
No, I'm not Tamlin. I'm not going to make him do. He's a smart cat.
Okay.
He's burned. He won't go near it again.
All right, continue.
If you start sniffing it, let me know, because
he just was. That's why.
But but yeah, so see, he's fine. But I don't know, favorite scenes. I think that's like all of the trials were cool. I liked all the trials. There's got to be a scene with Rhys that's probably in there. There's just so many memorable things. There's some time where he says something. I remember telling you, I was like, that was awesome. That was really cool what he said. So I don't know. favorite scene, other than Nesta pointing, that's definitely in my top. Like, just cool scene.
What about
But
you,
it's a great
Lisa?
series. So I mean, there were tons of moments. It's
Yeah.
just like I'm trying to boil it down to a paragraph, and I think that's it.
I think mine, it's the moment when there's this "here you are" from Reese to Fairy. Like at the first time that I read it, it was like whatever, and then when you realize what is happening and that Reese is actually finding this girl that he has been dreaming about, it was so impactful. And I don't remember picking this up the first time that I read it, so it's something that really marked me in the reread. But I loved that scene. But then also really loved the scene when Fairy died. Like that last, like those last moments, everything that happened felt like super intense, and everyone gifting like a drop of their magic felt super cool as well. And what else? What else? Like, I don't know. I think those are the ones. Like,
I would like to agree. Someone had said the breaking Ianthe's hand.
yes.
That's the same scene where she takes out the prince and princess of Highburn, right?
Yes.
That scene as a whole, I would put in top 3 for me
Yeah.
because first off, she did great with all the villains. Like, I loved the interactions with her and these two little snot, like princes and princess or whatever. Like, they were great. Like, you could just like the smugness you could envision on their faces with each other. They just loved each other so much, and like they just thought they were so cool. And the way that Feyre, like, just you just envision her just like popping up right next to him and just boom, taking him on and then taking her out, and they just weren't expecting it. And you had Jurian right before kind of reveal
Yeah.
himself, like, I know what you got going on. I'm not going to stop you. And then you have Lucian, who now has to make a decision: do I go with her or not? Like, talk about all the things in one
Yeah.
like chapter that happened, and you're like, whoa. So
And then a few chapters later is when Cassian and Azrael dropped out onto the ice, which is another one of my favorite scenes, where it's like an Illyrian warrior, and then Cassian goes and fights Eris and his brothers.
Yeah, so if you could like clip from the start of that scene all the way to the end of the ice, because it's back to back. They go in the cave, right? And then they come out.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say that that scene, those would be it.
Issa, was it you I was talking about? Or it might have been Scott. What if that ice was not thick? I feel like that was a very it was a very dramatic entrance, and like if that ice had cracked, like
yeah, there's a lot of moments where if this had happened, or if that wasn't that strong, or what if she pulled the wrong lever? Poor Lucian. But there are so many great scenes. It is pretty cool. And there's just a lot, like the inner circle is very cool. Like, I know Jess always talked about them being her favorite group of characters. And I do agree. Of all the books I've read, they are just a fantastic group of like characters that are banded together.
But more than Bridge 4. Crew from Stormlight.
More than who?
The Bridge 4 group from Stormlight.
I said one of the best. I love Bridge 4 as well.
Okay.
And,
okay.
That's
okay.
For lack of spoilers, but they're also awesome.
Yeah. Okay.
Lupin.
But this is back to you saying you pretty much like every character besides Farah. Like, you made that very clear while reading.
But at the end, and after I finished the series and had some time to reflect back, hear some people's opinions. Like, I'm open to, it's okay to change, your perspective as you gain more insight and context. So, overall, and I wanted to like her. Like, I wanted to love her, but I couldn't get myself to. But SJM did a great job of like redeeming her. It's like I think it's in Dumb and Dumber, like, you always redeem yourself. Like, when you think everything's like it's a lost character, she would always come back and do some cool stuff. Or like book 3 spying, like that to me was awesome. And I was on the edge of my seat, like she's gonna get caught. She's gonna get caught. And then the jury moment, but that's the big reveal that he's not who you think he is. And then it's like she takes out those 2 people and you're like, whoa, like now they're gone and I hated them and it was perfect amount of time for them to be there and not be real big characters. And you're just like, she's spying on the court, but she's also protecting them, like Lucian and Tamlin, because they can't block their own minds. And it's just like a whole web of intricacies that ended and played out just as, you wanted to.
But looking back, do you think it was a good idea for her to do that? Because we find out later that by like.
But that's what makes it so good. It ended up screwing up everything too. So
yes.
It was perfect because like she does all this stuff and Tamlin gets crapped on. Like she does all these things and who has to pay the price? Tamlin.
Yeah.
And still.
But Tamlin also aligned with Hybern to get her back. Even after she sent a letter saying, hey, I'm good with Rhys, like, don't come for me. And Lucian had seen her training with Rhys, and even Farrah told Lucian, I don't want to go back, like, I'm happy here, or whatever she does. So.
But I like Lucian because he is broken in many ways, too. And his relationship with Tamlin is just not healthy either. Like he's too afraid to always stand up for how he feels or, so watching him run away is the first time you're seeing him break that mold of what his character was. But even as time goes on, he's still, trying to explore not falling in line with whatever his High Lord says or does. And, the Night Court shows that's not what you have to do. But I feel like inside he's ingrained in so much tradition. And maybe if he does get with Vasa and like breaks the mold of not going with your mate, that would be cool. So I still want him and Elaine to be together, but there are things that she could explore that would make it interesting. So I don't know.
I think Lucian deserves better than Elaine.
He does. Well, I mean, Elaine, we need to find out more from Elaine.
Yes.
Like right now, she's just like
my ship. I think I've already told both of you, but Elaine and Tamlin, I think, are like the Yes.
No.
Yes.
No.
She loves to garden. He's the spring court guy.
Worst relationship, the most top. Like, let's put the one who doesn't stand up or talk or anything with the guy who's going to control everything.
Yeah,
that sounds terrible.
She's fine with being controlled, and she can just like garden and be happy.
No. Yes.
No.
Nope.
Okay. Well, I think that would be good.
But I think that Elaine can be pretty cool. Like everything about she being able to see the future and that kind of symbolic stuff can turn pretty cool with her. But like how she gets there and when is the question. But I don't see her at all with Tamlin. With Lucian, them being like ruling the spring court, yes, I can see that. And I can link that with the flowers and everything that was painted. But beyond that,
But also Lucian is technically the heir to the day court.
I know, yeah, I know.
So like,
yeah, I know.
Which is
like,
cool.
I know that my reasoning does not stand, but
I haven't heard anyone talk about the fact that maybe Elaine, she can see and kind of prophesize stuff. So like maybe she knows something we don't know. Like maybe she knows if she warms up and ends up with Lucian, he'll die. Or maybe like who knows what, there's a lot to explore that she could really mess up or really do really well. So like I think, but I do want to see Lucian end up happy. I feel like he's a good character, and I would like to see him become stronger. And wait, what, Jess?
I never thought about this, but I kind of like this one too. Eris and Elaine is something I think about often. I don't hate that.
I hate him. I hate Eris.
Oh no,
love.
Yeah, I don't love him, but like I think there's a lot going on with Eris. Like,
yeah, I agree.
Yeah. And I was wondering, I've been thinking in my head now that I'm reading Silver Flames, who Eris is like going to end up with if that happens down the line. And I never considered Elaine. But I kind of like that.
What about Tarquin? Who's he get?
No idea.
Someone.
Someone in the summer court. I don't know.
Exactly. Yeah, no.
More than Eris could be a great anti-hero. Yeah. All right. So do you have anything else to discuss?
Just gonna read the 4th book, or should I wait till books 5 and 6 are out and then read those?
That could be going by how SJM releases things. The next Crescent City book isn't coming out till January. So you probably have a year after that release.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll probably read the 4th book.
I think you're used to Sanderson's releasing schedule. Not the same.
Gotcha. So, all right. So I'll probably read the 4th book. Maybe we'll see if I have different opinions. But overall, I was glad that I read this. Okay,
good. Well, Issa, thank you for helping me co-host. And Scott, thank you for being on.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.